Hi everyone, Abby here, and welcome back to my channel for Tech Tuesday, or welcome if you're new. Now today, I'm going to be reviewing the Apple Watch Series 10 smartwatch. And I have the 42mm GPS version here with a sport band. And I'm going to give you guys my honest opinion on this smartwatch today. And you guys saw the title. This is my first Apple Watch ever, guys. Like I said, lifelong Android user here. I've had Android phones for at least the last 10 years. I haven't had an iPhone in a while. And this is my first Apple Watch ever. I'm gonna give you guys my honest opinion on it as someone who's used dozens of Android and cross-compatible smartwatches. But before I get started, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed so you can stay tuned to all my new videos dropping weekly and so you can help the channel grow. So I have the Apple Watch here in the color rose gold with a Plum sport band. So I've had this Apple Watch for over a month now, and the first thing I'm going to talk about with this watch is the spec highlights so you guys can get an idea of what it can do. So with the Apple Watch, you can track your steps, your calories burned, your workout minutes, you can track your sleep, your heart rate, women's health data. It has a built-in speaker and mic, and you can do Bluetooth calling. It also has Siri voice assistant built in, tracks a variety of workouts and activities, such as running, walking, cycling, hiking, yoga. The smartwatch is also water resistant up to 5 ATM or 50 meters, so you can take it in the pool, in the ocean, in the rain with no issues. It has Apple Pay on here, so you can do contactless payments on the go. It's compatible with over 100 different apps. You can see the weather on here and more. The current price as of recording for the Apple Watch Series 10 here is $549 Canadian and $429 American. And the smartwatch has been out for, a couple of months now, and because of that, gone on sale more frequently, especially recently. The last sale I saw was $90 off Canadian, about $50 off American. All right, guys, now I'm gonna go ahead and try this on so you can see what it looks like on me. All right, guys, so here it is on me. And I do have a 7-inch wrist. I do find that it has plenty of room at the bottom here. I do like the sport band. It's quick and easy to kind of take on and off, and it is quite adjustable. And I've gone ahead and listed all the wrist sizes it could fit on screen for you. Now, when it comes to comfort wearing this watch, it is super comfortable to wear. It is lightweight, and the band here is very soft and it is breathable. So I think it's a nice band for working out in. It does dry pretty quickly afterwards if it gets sweaty or if it gets wet. I will say, as someone who has reviewed dozens of smartwatches, this is the most comfortable band I have ever worn. So kudos to Apple for that. However, I will say when it comes to the size of the watch here, I do find it a bit big. What do you guys think of it? Too big, too small? Like I said, I personally find it a little bit big for my liking, but I do think that this looks really nice. It's also comfortable. So I'm not too mad about the size, but if you are someone who has a very small wrist, you might find it a bit big for sure. I'm someone who I do like, small, compact smartwatches. However, that's definitely a personal preference thing. Some of you might be thinking it's too big on me, too small on me, or just right. So the Apple Watch here does have a OLED display. And when you are indoors, I do find it very easy to read. The display here gets pretty darn bright. It does have adjustable brightness. There's like a low, medium, and a high. So that's something that I find really beneficial if I'm outdoors, especially. The display is quite reflective, but because it gets so bright, I do find it easy to read outdoors in, sunlight. However, downside of that is that if you're outdoors for a long time with the brightness turned up, it really does drain your battery life a lot faster. And one thing about the brightness here is that it is adaptable brightness. It uses the ambient light sensor to read your lighting conditions, and it will, adjust to that. And something good about the display is that you can change the font size. So you can change it from really small to really large. So if you're someone who doesn't have the best eyesight, this can be really beneficial to you, that it gets really large, so it makes it easier to read. Another thing about it is you can go ahead and bold the text, which can make it a bit easier for you to read as well. And it does have an optional always on display. However, when I turn that on, my battery life drops significantly. I will talk about the exact battery life I got coming up soon in the video. All right, guys, so when it comes to activity tracking, I do find this does a pretty good job, and it does track a good amount of activities. I'll just show you guys all the activities that it can track that I have on here. It does track indoor activities as well as outdoor activities using GPS. So you guys can see it's mostly in alphabetical order, which makes it a bit easy to find things. So when you're actually doing an activity, see the time of your activity. I like that you can actually see the time that it is as well in the corner there. It shows your calories that you're actively burning, your total calories burned. You can see your heart rate as well. And you can control your music if you have any music playing. And you can go ahead and, end, pause, all of that stuff. So if you're doing like a walk or a run or hike or something, you do see your pace and you see the actual distance that you did walk. What I would have liked to see as well is them adding in other things like elevation, adding in steps. I do find for activity tracking, it's a little bit basic. And that's something I find common with Apple, is that you're not seeing that much data when you're doing your workouts. The smartwatch does have built-in GPS. Now, in my experience so far, the GPS has been good. I wouldn't say it's great because it did take about 30 seconds to like 2 minutes for it to find GPS when I was doing outdoor activities, like an outdoor walk, for example. And sometimes I did find it did drop occasionally as I was using it. It would typically come back online within a minute or two, but it did drop a couple of times. And in terms of the pace, I find that it does take a little bit of time to adjust if you're doing running and walking intervals. If you're someone who's just constantly running, or if you're walking, it doesn't really have an issue with that. But when it comes to actually tracking where I was, I do find the GPS did a pretty good job. It did show the route accurately where I did travel. Now, when it comes to the heart rate sensor, the heart rate data that it does track, I do find to be accurate. I even went as far as, palpating my own heart rate, and it did line up. One thing is that it really tracks your heart rate every few minutes. It's not a constant 24/7 type of thing. That's something I did want to mention to you guys. I think the Apple Watch has some really nice looking watch faces. The one I have on right here in particular, I just love that it really matches the band super well. Now, they do have a huge variety of colors that you can choose. Now, I'm just gonna show you guys the watch faces that I actually do have on here. There are more watch faces that you can download. There wasn't a huge amount of them, which is a little bit disappointing, to be honest. I did find there was a lot of analog looking watch faces. So if you're someone who likes something that looks more like a traditional type of watch, I think you would really enjoy that. Now, something I found missing with the watch faces is there's not really any data-rich watch faces. So as someone coming from Android, something that I really liked on like Garmin or Fitbit, for example, with their watch faces is that you get so much data at a glance. I could see my steps, I could see my calories burned, I could see my heart rate, I could see the date. And with Apple, you just see the time. You might see maybe a couple metrics, but you're not getting all of that. All right, guys, so now I'm gonna talk about women's health. So for my men out there, or anyone else who doesn't wanna see this, you can go ahead and use my timestamps in the description below and jump to the next section where I'm gonna be talking about sleep tracking. So for women's health, there is a built-in health app that Apple offers, and in that you can set up cycle tracking. Open cycle tracking. So this is what the app looks like. Now you can go ahead, if you're on your period, you can log your flow with these different options here. You can add symptoms that you're feeling as well. Now, I do like that it's in alphabetical order just to make, your symptoms easy to find. And you can add if you are spotting. Now, what I find missing with the women's health here is that there's no mood tracking. And that's something that I find a bit odd because other companies, like Fitbit, Samsung, Garmin, they all have a mood tracking element in there. I find it a little bit limiting here. I also think it looks extremely boring. And when you're on your phone, you can see things in a bigger view and you could actually see your period prediction as well. And in my experience, the period prediction has been accurate. So when it comes to sleep tracking on this watch, it does track your time awake, it tracks your time in REM sleep, core sleep, and deep sleep. Now, I have never heard of core sleep until I used Apple, so that's new to me. but I'm assuming core is similar to light sleep. It does show you a little graph of your sleep through the night. It also shows you the time of each one. You can see the time that I fell asleep, the time that I woke up, and it shows you the exact duration. So you can set a bedtime, you can set a time to wake up as well. If you want to have an alarm go off in the morning, or if you want to have an alarm at night, kind of suggested like, hey, start winding down, getting ready for bed. Now, when it comes to the sleep stages, I do find them off. This says I was awake for 4 minutes last night. That is completely off. I was tossing and turning all night. I was awake for at least an hour. So I can tell you guys that the sleep stages here are very off. I do find that it typically gets the time that I fell asleep and the time I woke up spot on. And in the morning, if it senses me awake, like if I get up and I'm just texting on my phone, the watch asks me, do you want to turn off sleep mode? And I like that it gives you that option. I think that's really cool. So I definitely think that sleep tracking here does need improvement. It does have a built-in speaker, built-in mic, and it does play different sounds. So if you're going to, for example, start a activity,
workout paused.
Another example is if you set an alarm or a timer. Set an alarm for 10 seconds.
10 seconds, counting down.
You can also play music directly from the speaker here as well, which is pretty handy. I find that Siri is very responsive, whether you want to just say, hey Siri. You can also press and hold this to open up Siri. If you're someone who likes to use voice assistant, it could be pretty handy for you. You can have Siri check the weather, start a workout for you, call someone, text someone, and more. Also, when it comes to calling on this smartwatch, in my experience doing calls, the calls come in super clear on my end as well as on the recipient's end. Now, I've taken a few calls with this smartwatch, and at the end, I just ask people, hey, like, were you able to hear me clearly? And everyone's like, yeah, like, why? And that's a random question to ask. And I was just like, oh, I'm just testing, calling on my smartwatch. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. So I just wanted to mention that if you are doing calls on here, it sounds very good, very clear. And you can of course pull up your contacts, your favorites, recents, all of that stuff, and place calls directly on here when your phone is within Bluetooth range. Now the Apple Watch Series 10 42mm GPS here has a quoted battery life up to 18 hours. And it can go up to 36 hours if you have it on low power mode. Now with my usage doing things like GPS walks, runs, using daily alarms, timers, checking smartphone notifications, and more, I've gotten on average 14 to 15 hours of battery life here. For me, that is definitely pretty bad. I can't sugarcoat that here. I've had to charge this smartwatch every single day. There was only one day in me using this smartwatch for over a month that I got it to last more than 24 hours. And that was a day when I didn't do any workouts that day, and I was really just kind of using it as a watch and using it to set timers and alarms. That is something that I don't like at all. I think that the battery life is poor, and I've had to try to find unique times to charge this. Charge it for a little bit while I'm in the shower, or if I'm washing the dishes, or while I'm making food or something, just to try to get the battery life to, pump up, because it does take around an hour and 15 to 20 minutes to fully charge it. For me, it's a huge hassle having to charge my smartwatch every single day. I've even had to charge it twice a day on some days when I do heavier workouts, especially if you're doing outdoor GPS workouts. That drains the battery life a lot. Now, if you're coming from a prior Apple Watch, you're probably already used to charging your watch every single day, so that's not going to be an issue for you. But if you're someone like me, coming from other smartwatches, you're probably going to find that to be a huge hassle. And even if you're an Apple user, you might find that to be a hassle as well. Now, those are my battery life results here. You may get something higher or lower depending on your individual usage, because we all use our smartwatches differently, but I definitely don't think you're going to be getting, great battery life out of this smartwatch. That's something that you can expect. All right, guys, so now I'm gonna go over the basics on how to use the Apple Watch here. So you can turn on the display by pressing the button here. You can also go ahead and tap the display. And finally, if you have the raise to wake function turned on, you can go ahead and turn your wrist towards your face and the screen will light up. Now, once it is on, you can go ahead and swipe down and see notifications. You can press this button here to open up your apps. The crown here can be used to kind of like scroll up and down in areas of the watch. and it can go ahead and click on any one and it'll open that up into a bigger view. You can press that to go back. You can hold this to open up Siri. You can press this to open up quick functions. Like you can turn on and off your sound. You can use flashlight, helpful for dark conditions there. You can press this again to go back. If I hold this button, that is your emergency. So if you're in a situation where you need medical assistance, maybe you fall in or something during a workout, that is going to open this up for you and you can call an emergency contact, pull up your medical ID, stuff like that. And if I swipe up from the home page, you can see the date. You can also see some recently used apps here as well, and you can click into them to go into a bigger view. If you do want to change your watch face, you can just press down and hold, and then you can swipe through. And if you do want to start a workout, you're gonna have to go into the apps, click on the workout button, pick a workout and start it. To end a workout, just end it there. Now, if you do want to see your health metrics, you do really just have to find the app here and look at that. If you want to look at heart rate, there's that app. If you want to look at, some metrics like your steps, how much you're standing, how much you're moving, stuff like that, you can find that information in this app. So that's the basics of how to use this smartwatch here. So in my experience, the Apple Watch has a lot of cool features. So one of those would be a passcode. You can go ahead and set up a passcode. So if you go ahead and take the watch off, it requires a passcode to, use it when you put it back on again. So that's something that I know some people do like having. Maybe if you have roommates you don't trust, or a sibling, or anyone that you don't want seeing information on your watch while it's off of your wrist, you could turn on the passcode option there. Another cool feature is that the integration is seamless if you have other Apple devices. If you have a MacBook, if you have an iPhone, if you have an iPad, it just seamlessly connects all of your devices together. So if you set an alarm on here, it's gonna show up on your iPad, on your iPhone, on your MacBook. And if you have a call, you can pick up the call on the watch or on your computer, on the phone. It really does kind of go back and forth very seamlessly. And that's something I think is really great that Apple does. I think they're kind of the best at that in the game for seamless integration between devices. All right, guys, so I have noticed some cons about the Apple Watch here. First con for me is actually the charging. This smartwatch does use a magnetic charger that you kind of just slide onto the bottom here. I find sometimes when I put on the charger, it doesn't charge. I find I have to put it in the exact right spot for it to actually charge. And so many times I just put it there, thought it was charging, I come back and it's dead. It didn't charge. Like I said, this is my first Apple Watch. This is not something I have to deal with Android watches. The chargers work fine on those. So that's something that I do find annoying, is that the charger can be a bit finicky. Another thing that's a con for me is the battery life. As I mentioned early in the video, the battery life on this smartwatch is not great. And I'm someone who I do not like charging my smartwatch every single day. And it's something I don't really understand, because Apple's other devices like MacBook, iPhone, they're killing it with battery life, but when it comes to the Apple Watch, they're just failing. Another con for me is that it's only compatible with iPhones. So as someone who is an Android user, I had to go out and buy a used iPhone just to review this for you guys, because I couldn't review it on my Android phone. Majority of companies out there that make smartwatches, they are cross-compatible between Androids and between iPhones. And the last con for me is I can't see all of my data in one spot. I have to go ahead and I have to literally go into a bunch of different apps to see things. If I want to see heart rate, I gotta go there. If I want to see my steps, I gotta go here. If I want to see sleep, I have to go there. I would have loved if I can just swipe through and see everything at a glance. On Android watches or Android compatible watches, you can see all your metrics, just swipe through quickly and see, but you can't do that here. All right, guys, so considering the price, the quality, the color, the performance, the battery life, the comfort, and everything like that, I would go ahead and give this an 8.5 out of 10. I definitely do give it a thumbs up. So if you guys are looking to pick up the Apple Watch Series 10 here, I've gone ahead and left the link down in the description for you to use. And if there's anything I missed today that you want to know, go ahead and drop a comment below. I do read all the comments and I'll definitely get back to you. And as requested by many of you, I am going to be comparing the Apple Watch Series 10 here to the Garmin Venu 3S. That's gonna be dropping on AbbyBReviewing Tech Tuesday soon, so make sure you're subscribed with your post notification bells turned on so you don't miss that video. And if there's anything I missed today that you wanna know, just go ahead and drop a comment below. I do read all the comments and I'll definitely get back to you. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for watching and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.